Hello, I'm Kads, and welcome to today's video. So today we're doing another episode of Shardless Champion Chase. However, this one's a little bit different because this is not associated with the fusion. This is the Champion Chase prior to the next fusion starting on Monday. However, because of my mercies we'll take a look at in a few seconds here, I want to preserve it for voids, so we're not going to be pulling any voids. However, I still need to get some of the Titan event points from the Champion Chase. We're going to facilitate that with some other forms of getting points. So let's hop into the Champion Chase as we've already described. You can see here that we have the lower milestone at 1550 and the upper milestone at 4200, which is pretty much par for the course in terms of Champion Chase events that have Titan event points in them. If it's of one's interest, you also do have some relic fragments up for grabs if you want to go for those, but typically I would be focusing my efforts on getting out to 4200. But just because how I've been approaching this particular Titan event, I don't actually need this upper node. Just doing some back of the napkin math here, I've skipped 100 or all 100 from the deck of fate, and then I will be skipping this to 125 here for a grand total of 225. So as long as I do everything else, which I plan to do at least at the time of this recording, I should have a slight overshoot of 25 points relative to the 1500 points, meaning I will still guarantee myself a 5-star soul for Donatello, despite not really needing it on my account. So all of that to say that my goal here is to simply get to 1550, which is more than achievable without having to spend any amount of shards. For reference, let's still pop into the portal to take a look at the overall shard count on my account at the moment, because small decisions like this one are part of the reason why I do have an abundance of shards, as you can see here. So 523 on the ancients, 268 on the voids, 58 on the primals, and then 43 on the sacreds. Of course, none of those will be used in today's session. And then as I teased earlier, let's take a look at my mercy tracker, which will be linked in the description box down below if you'd like a copy of this to use for yourself. So the voids are the special one to point out for this particular session, and you can see here that we are 54 shards away from hitting mercy, or entering mercy I should say, and that means we're 74 voids away from guaranteeing ourselves a void legendary. So because we're in that sweet spot of closing in on mercy but not quite there yet, it would be a little bit risky for me to pull my normal amount for a void 2x champion chase, which is somewhere between 30 and 40 voids, just because that would get me, you know, a lot closer to mercy, but then I would also risk the 2x proccing, getting a legendary, and then resetting my mercy, and potentially getting a champion who I find less desirable. Even though there is a 10x, I think, for Leo going on right now, I think he's a decent champion. He wasn't really blowing me away from the showcases that I've seen, but nonetheless, you know, there are other champions that are higher on my list in terms of priority, so I'd rather focus my efforts and my RNG towards them in a progressive chance event in hopefully the near term. We'll kind of see how long we have to wait for voids to come around as far as what I'm looking for. If you're wondering, for reference, Marichka is number 1 at the moment and Queen of Hearts is number 2, so probably leaning more towards Marichka at the moment, given the live arena meta, or just the arena meta with the bombs and the burns and all that stuff going on right now, poisons as well, lethal dose kind of going rampant. So I'm leaning more towards Marichka, and so the next time she's on a progression chance events, then you'll see us pull up to 74 voids and take our shot and see if we can get her from some void shards. So the plan for today is quite simple in terms of getting to 1550. We're going to start things off by summoning a relic keeper. I do have 1 copy of him ready to go, so I've farmed all of the rares, leveled them up appropriately, and they are ready to go. So this is guaranteed 250 points towards the champion chase. We're basically starting at 0 because I haven't really done any other shard pulling events, so there or shard pulls. 250 there in the bag. The second thing we're going to do is I'm actually going to finally summon Supreme Elhain, who is a fusion from who knows how long ago at this point, but yeah, I've been sitting on her for a very, very long time, and I just need more DPS in High Elves, specifically that hard mode faction crypt. I'm kind of lacking in the DPS department, and comparing her multipliers between her and Yannicka, who's kind of like my primary attack based nuker in the faction, Supreme Elhain's a little bit better, plus she's void affinity, so I don't have to worry, or I have to worry a lot less, I should say, about weak hits. So Supreme Elhain is definitely going to do some, or hopefully going to do some work. She's also immune to decreased attack, which is kind of useful. So void legendary, oh my god, it's great. No, I'm just kidding. But it's 650 points for her, so that is a big chunk of points. So we're sitting at 900, I believe, and then we're going to cap it off with 3 remnant summons. Now this is assuming the minimum, assuming we get non-void epics, 3 of them will do. But if we do happen to get a void epic, which is a 50% chance, then I really realistically only have to pull 2, and then I will have to pull just get 50 points from Champion Chase or from Mystery Shards or some other source that we can do at a later date. So here we go. Let's get our remnant summons out of of the way, for anyone wondering, this is the type of thing I have saved my Remnant Summons for Shardless Champion Chases, just to kind of fill the gap. As you can see there, I only had one Relic Keeper since the last time I did a Shardless Champion Chase, which I believe was, one was during Donatello, but also during Titus more recently. And yeah, I just haven't built up Broadmaws and etc. things to fill in that gap. So one non-void epic will take it, 250 points. That is my baseline assumption going into all of these. Another one non-void rare, so that's 500. And then that means we guarantees that we need a third one no matter what this happens to be, another epic as expected. And it's Taragi the Frog. So there we go. There's our 3 epics. And yeah, Yaga the Insatiable, terrible champion, not much to say about him. Captain Tamila, decent healer for Dark Elves, but really not that useful, although I believe she is used for epic empowerment, so that will be helpful for me. And then Taragi the Frog, very good champion. Early game Demon Lord clan boss is kind of where he tends to shine as far as that, but he's great for a nested ally attack or a nested ally protection team. As far as dipping your toes into the waters of Nightmare and Ultra Nightmare clan boss, he also has a pretty strong passive where he places a lot of poisons, especially on Affinity clan boss where he hits you multiple times. Each hit has a chance to place poison, so he could be a secondary DPS in that form. But in more modern instances, he's also pretty decent as a provoker for like Curse City and Faction War, stuff like that, because dependent on the number of debuffs on each enemy, so adding them all up, so if you have a bunch of poisons on a bunch of enemies or a bunch of debuffs on a bunch of your enemies, this can go up to 100% chance to place a provoke on an AoE, 3-turn cooldown. So with that, 3 non-void epics makes this pretty clean. I believe my math would suggest that this would be 1650 total, so a slight overshoot, but nonetheless mission accomplished. So we did get our 75 fragments that we needed, or 75 Titan event points that we needed from the champion chase. So we're going to claim that. We're going to claim the chicken as well. We're going to save the energy for the fusion again when that starts on Monday. And then while we're here, we might as well check in on the Titan event itself. And you can see that we're closing in on 1400 points, or 1350, I guess is the nearest milestone here. So we get the legendary tome. That's great. So we're close to the mythical chaos ore, mythical tome, eternal soul essence, and of course the 5-star soul, the ultimate goal. So about 165 points to go. And if you're curious where all of that's going to come from, there are some points here in the Dungeon Divers, which again, I do plan to max this out all the way to 3350. So there's 70 points here. And then there is also some free points, relatively speaking, in the Fusion warm-up event. So then another 30 there, so that's 100. And then we need 50, I think. So 50 should come from the Shredder's Wrath tournament, which you can see here we're basically done with, more or less. So, it's the last day of this tournament, but nonetheless, whenever it decides to load, I believe I'm somewhere like 1700, 1800-ish. So yeah, just under 1800. So very, very close to getting this 50. And all of that combined, I think we're a little bit short. I think I said 165. So I just need one more thing. And I believe that one more thing is the spider turn attack here, where we're going to get 40. So that basically all the points I need that are up for grabs in the remaining events. So that's all that needs to be done from my point of view. And since, of course, she is a red dot, we might as well go claim or untag, we should say, our Supreme Elhain in the index. So there we go. New red dot. Again, this is a previous fusion from probably 2 or 3 years ago at this point, and I've just never really had a purpose to use her. And, she's just been waiting for an opportunity such as this one to kind of be activated. But for anyone who's unfamiliar with the kit, again, she's not like an amazing nuker or anything, but she is going to be slightly better, again, than Yannicka in terms of Faction Wars hard mode, trying to deal damage, which is a struggle for me, particularly in High Elves. But two-time hitter on the A1, big AoE attack here where the damage increases by 10% for each debuff on each target, which again can scale up pretty decently. And it'll also reset the cooldown of the A3 if this kills an enemy, 3-turn cooldown there. And then we have the A3, attacks from an enemy will ignore ally protection, strengthen, and shield buffs, and will grant an extra turn if this kills an enemy. This is on a 4-turn cooldown, but the synergy there again is that if you kill someone with the AoE, you reset this, you can kill another single target, get an extra turn, etc., and she can kind of snowball from there. And then I believe this also, the A1, it can transfer random deals from her champions to the target, from herself to the target, which can be useful. And then, like I said, she's immune to decreased attack, and then she will also inflict 20% more damage against targets whose attack is lower than this champion's attack, which is generally speaking going to be the case in a lot of instances, but maybe some attack-based mobs in hard mode Faction Wars might have less attack, or might have more attack than her, just because their stats are inflated because they're enemy mobs. But nonetheless, again, this is emphasizing why she should, in most cases, do more damage than Yannicka, on top of being Void Affinity, where you don't have to worry about weak hits. So yeah, that concludes another edition of Shardless Champion Chase 2x Voids non-fusion edition. However, I'm going to assume that the rest of you are not employing following this particular strategy in this particular instance. So let me know in the comment section down below what you got from your void summons, and hopefully you got something amazing, new void legendary for your account. As always, if you did find this video helpful, then be sure to hit that like button down below. It really does help out the channel. And feel free to hit the subscribe button down below if and only if you're enjoying the content overall on this channel for more content just like this one in the future. Thanks for watching and have a good one.